This is going to be a weekly recap from the 10th to the 14th, or really the 11th to the 13th, because of that second job that I have now. I'm not trading on Mondays and Fridays. And let's go ahead and begin. It was just 4 trades, and I am thinking of maybe trying to do some other kind of setup where maybe I don't even consider day trading. I can consider stuff that takes a longer period of time, but it's still something that is going to require a lot more thinking and work to get to if I am going to do that. Let's look at the 4 trades. I did end up being up just $10, trading 952 dollars a dollar volume, and yeah, just 4 trades. Let's look at the first one, which is OSCR on the 11th. Let me make this a 5-day chart, and the 11th is going to be right here. So it looks like it was trying to do like a potential multi-day breakouts right there above this roughly $7 price point. And the 11th is going to be right here. I was in at 933, 704 or 705 to round it up. Morning resistance pre-breakout. So let's look at 933, pretty much 705, and I entered right here at this point at the bottom of this candle, and the idea is that multi-day breakout range. I think it will be off of this one, 710, and I'm in it right here because it looks like it's trying to get to that point and break above it, and I did get a good entry for the most part considering where this candle is at 705, with it ideally continuing an uptrend and making a move towards the upside, breaking 710, and then ideally, you know, breaking even higher, or maybe even like a halt towards the upside. Those are always nice. I did get out of this one 934 at 702, so that was right here, and it makes sense because it did break this uptrending trend line right here. And on top of that, it did also get under VWAP. Let's take a look at my notes. It looks like it was something where I was just in because it looks like it was going to do it, and then the moment it looks like it wasn't going to do it, I got out. And it did eventually break above it later, and I did trade that. This was now a morning resistance pre-breakout, but this is now a dip buy. I did buy this again at 938 at 701. So essentially, it didn't break the level, but I'm in it now that it had like a little dip after it tried right here. And it's also under VWAP, and I'm in it at 701 at 938 with the goal of it getting to not just this 710 level, but ideally getting above it. I got out 945 at 707, so I actually did hold on to this one for a pretty good amount of time at 707, and I could have done better. As you can see, it did get as high as the 720s, although it did have a bit of a drop right here. I guess with a trend line, maybe that would have been something, you know, maybe in hindsight, right? Or perhaps a new trend line, something like this. That could have been something I could have drawn in theory. And then it did kind of break under it right here, but it regained itself. But once it had like a few candles past it, you can see it sold off. So trend lines are very useful. They tend to play out more often than not. And let's take a look at my notes. I wasn't happy with the fact that I wasn't patient. And yeah, this is something where I could have had like a trend line and I could have held on. Let's just see what sell at 710 would have been, since I guess that was the breakout level. Considering maybe some sells before I got there and maybe some after it, rounding it off right there. And yeah, it would have helped just a little bit more. Definitely something that I could have traded with a lot more size and have been a much more profitable with. Let's look at CDLX on the 11th. It's right here. So another one of these multi-day breakouts in theory. No big volume days besides this right here, which is good. I was in at 1020 at 632, and this was a confirmed breakout. So it's 1020. Was in it right here is 1020 at this 1632 level, I believe, and Let me just make sure. Yeah, 632. Why did I get in this? I got in this because it was a confirmed breakout. As you can see, the high was 630. Struggled in the morning. Looks a bit like a bull flag that failed, and then after a dip under VWAP, it did uptrend and continued the uptrend some more until it started to downtrend. But when it dropped, it actually held around this original breakout level, 630 consolidation, and I'm in it at 632. Of course, it could have continued the downtrend and break it, but this one worked out. This was a confirmed breakout where it breaks above it, uptrends, and then downtrends to the original level, and it holds it, and then it uptrends even more. And in this case, it even got above the day high, which makes this one pretty impressive. I got out 1026 at 651 average. Right here, my average was 651, and I could have held on to this one as well using the trend line. But I was just kind of thrown off with how well it was working. In theory, I could have sold maybe right here at 664 once it broke the uptrending trend line for sure, or maybe here when it opened a new candle. You know, like well past the uptrending trend line. I mean, this one opened past it, but it could have regained itself quickly. This one for sure was well under it. Let's just see it. What would it have been? Maybe a sell at 660. Yeah, it would have been better, closer to 5%, and definitely a lot more profitable, even with the size that I was trading. Super cool. I don't know if I'll ever get to that point, but I'll keep trying. And yeah, I could have done better in that sense, but I guess I felt better. Probably because of the fact that even though I sold while it didn't break an uptrending trend line, the way it just shot up. You know, it is something kind of sketchy to hold through, although it did do it very nicely here and continue to break above the day high a bit. Let's look at the last trade, HTCR on the 12th. Right here is a 12 first red day, I guess, but you know, in theory, it could have continued the uptrend and have done something more than just this. But let's take a look. I was in at 935 at 147. This was a morning panic bounce play. 935, 147. I got in it right here. In theory, it's up. I think it had news and it just sold off. But then I tried to trade this because it looked like something where it was just panicking and now it's going to bounce and reverse a bit and you know be something nice to sell into. I got out the same minute. I held on to this for only 20 seconds. I got out at 146, and the idea was is that I think it was looking like it was going to make a bottom at 146. You know, I was in it at 147, and then it tried to work, but then when it looked like it was going to break under the day low, I got out, and it did drop, but just a little more. 144, I was just a few pennies off, and it did make a move as high as 158, but it never got to the goal, which is VWAP in the 180s. But let's just see what a sell at best case scenario 159 would have been. Yeah, 8%, which really confused me. I didn't think it was that big of a move. And then 180 would have actually been super massive in terms of percent gain. So yeah, that's it for this weekly recap right here. I'm gonna try to figure out when exactly I'm gonna do this. Maybe the day before I start trading again, but I'm usually very tired at that point, or maybe after the first day. I'm really not sure, but I'm gonna try to figure something out. That's it once again for this weekly recap right here, and I'm going to consider, you know, not just day trading, but also swing trading and longer term setups.